Boom, boom. Hey, Matt. There you go. Wait a minute.
Is there two of me?
Yeah, no, there you go. I don't know. Have you
Who
logged
are
in
you?
twice?
No. I don't think so. Oh, that might be. Is it? I have no idea.
Oh, we've
It's a
got two
different Matt.
Matts. Two Matts straight away.
Look at that. Look at the legend Max figuring it out.
Did you get a haircut, Max?
He did.
Let me unmute you. How did you get a haircut when the world's ending?
Man, it's my last day of fasting. I didn't eat anything in 7 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
How's
man.
it feeling? Oh, that's right. That was like a week ago. How's it
Yeah.
feel?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to eat again.
Yeah. How was like the whole experiment though? Like, how did it feel over like a couple of days?
Oh man, like first couple of days were pretty good. First 3 days were actually kind of easy, and then 4 or 5 were good. Like, and then I kind of noticed the change sort of thing, and then the last 2 days were fucking tricky, man. Like, I went for a run today and did my normal running track, and I had to take like 3 breaks and walk. So I'm out of energy. Every time I get up, I get dizzy, and so it's time I start eating again for sure.
What was the reason for that? If anyone's who's just joined before we get started, Max has been fasting for 7 days.
Yes.
I don't think I could do that.
Yes. So only water and tea, and yeah. Man, it's very interesting. Like, you definitely feel the change. And I lost weight. I didn't think it was possible, but I actually lost weight.
Why did you want to do that?
Just it's supposed to be a reset for your body. So your whole digestive system and your immune system basically resets itself. Also, the amount of food that you eat and how you eat, that all basically you give the body a break to reset itself. And I wanted to do that for a while now, and I finally did it. Thanks, coronavirus.
I did the opposite. I ate chocolate.
Oh man, I'm about to. We wrote, Max joined me, my roommate Max joined me, and we made a list. It's like 5 pages long of food that we want to eat and prepare in the next couple of weeks. So we're ready. We already went shopping. We're super keen.
Did Cozzy do it as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you also not drink coffee?
No coffee, no caffeine, no nicotine, no nothing, man. Just water and tea. That's it. Nothing else.
You must have been so grumpy.
No, yeah, I guess. Just normal.
For sure. You must have been, I would say you're pretty grumpy.
Nah, it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad.
Well, you didn't have to put up with yourself. Everyone else did.
Can we talk to your roommate about this?
Yeah. Let's see what your roommate has to say about it.
Yeah.
No, I killed him. I was hungry and he was pissing me off. No, it actually wasn't so bad. It's just the only thing that I probably should have done 5 days. I know a friend of mine, he's built a bit tougher, and he said 7 days is good, but I think 5 days would have been perfect for me because I'm running low on energy now for sure. But normally you can do it for up to 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
that's
And then you just
3 weeks?
How scientific is that statement that you?
Yeah, I know.
No, you can look it up. It's called the Buchinger method, Buchinger, and there's a lot of science behind it, and you can just look it up and
Science.
read up on it. It's very, very interesting. I only found out this winter when I read a book about basic like chronic diseases and their relation to how we eat, and that we eat too much and all of that. And it basically said recommended to do fasting once a year, and actually we have been doing that for a lot of like religions and stuff like that have always been doing that as well, fasting, and it's kind of like ingrained in our DNA, I guess. And I don't know, it was awesome. I can only recommend it. It's a bit tough, but everyone can do it.
You know what else religions have been doing?
I don't know. Praying.
I'm going to be honest, guys. This is not how I saw this conversation starting. All right. There's a
Sorry.
yeah. Oh, good. That was interesting. Max Mano. There you go. What a legend.
Is there 2 Thomas Bakers here? There is.
Tom, why are
There's
you-
I see Tom's face.
There's a Tom Baker and a Thomas Baker.
I've seen Tom. I just spoke to Tom.
Now there's
Oh, there's 3 of them.
Ah,
there's Tom. What's going
which
on?
one's which? There's a muted one and
Tom, can you hear us?
Technology. I think the answer is no.
Yeah. There's another one.
That's
I'll
amazing.
send him a WhatsApp.
Yeah. Rightio, guys. Anyway, so this one's really just casual. Gives you something to do. Anything? There's 3 Tom Bakers.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's a really funny.
Is there really?
Yeah.
I'm, just, we see 3 Toms. Just making it happen. I have no idea how or why.
You're definitely making it happen.
You're doing something. You're doing something, bro.
Man, let me see if I close out these tabs. How does that go? Is that better?
Oh, it's because you have 3 different tabs open. That makes sense now.
Well, there were different windows, not just Zoom tabs.
Yeah.
Oh.
With
All
the
right, we'll give
water
this a
fast.
tiny bit of structure at the start, and then we'll just cut loose. So we've got Matt Leonard, myself, Max Mano, and Tom. Really, just to answer any questions you have, we're just going to talk shit, I guess, and
Almost any question.
almost any. No, every question. Nothing's off the table.
Okay.
There's not so many of us, so if you have a question, just unmute your mic and ask away.
If you have a video, just turn your video on.
Or just
I
turn
mean, the
your
whole
video
point so
on
you
as
can
well, to
see
be
people
honest.
and just. I mean, if it's
Yeah, why we're
socially
looking at empty
acceptable,
screens.
Yeah, and if
socially acceptable
don't
to
have a beer,
crack a beer.
if you're on the other side of the world and you don't have a beer, you should have one. I'm in New Zealand. I'm about to have an 9:08 sip of beer in the morning, and I can wait. God, I'm looking forward to it. I'm doing it.
There we go. Kevin's breaking out a bottle of Jameson.
Nothing.
It's not coffee in this cup.
What's that,
Oh,
buddy?
there you go. And yeah.
It's not coffee in here. It's Jameson.
Nice. Tom's on the jack. We can't see what anyone else.
Question for Tom.
What's that?
I've got a question for Tom.
Right, Tom. Right, just fire away. If you want to ask any of us something, just go for it. We've got about 40 minutes to cut loose.
Tom, what do you use for your hair? It looks very shiny.
Oh. Well, it depends on the day. I have different Moroccan oils. I also have a few other serums that are quite nice. But currently, I use this method where I haven't washed it in 3 days.
Oh, interesting.
So
Natural oil.
it's unique. It's a trade secret. Usually, when it looks its best is when it hasn't been washed.
Thank you.
Bloody
You're
good.
welcome.
Tux. Is that Tux? Little Tux Uemota. Need to unmute him.
Unmute
Oh.
everyone's turning all their cameras on.
Tux. Hey, how's that?
How you doing, mate?
Good, buddy. How are you? Hey, congratulations.
For what?
I heard, aren't you having a baby?
The little one's coming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch on your camera.
Turn on your camera, bro.
Huh? Fuck, you guys are asking too much, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. All right, Tux, we'll give you a break, mate. We can give you a break.
Where's everyone
Tom.
from, just out of curiosity?
What's that?
Where's everyone from, just out of curiosity? I see a bunch of people. I don't know where they're all from, though. I mean, there's a few people I know.
Yeah, I
Maddie.
can see we've got Denmark. Chuck it in the chat on the side if you want.
Denmark? Yeah. Welcome.
NZ, nice one, Matt. I couldn't have got that.
Right here.
Netherlands,
Tom. I will actually have to say for Tom though, that Moroccan oil is pretty nice. I just came from his house, and that shampoo was pretty nice.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great personally.
Writing it down, guys. I'm writing it down. I'm
Yeah.
taking notes.
But it was a special brand. It was like tea tree or something. It was like a mint tea.
You know
There's,
what? Antonio once told me that you shouldn't use Moroccan oil. You should actually use tea tree oil.
Well, I think the brand is like Moroccan oil, but then it's like a mint tea
Okay.
something within that. I have no idea. Super good though.
There's I got a few different bottles of stuff in there, but it's all really good. Tim, I'll send you a photo of the bottles.
Yes, please. Thank you. Learning so much. Learning so much.
Righty,
All these beauty tips I'm getting.
what it's all about. If anyone does have a question for any of the guys, just chuck it in the Zoom group, the chat on the side. You just click the chat box down the bottom. Being pretty lazy, actually. Usually there's a raise your hand function and stuff like that. But Tom, what did you want to? We kind of had very loose structure. What did you want to start off with?
Just hanging out with the guys, talking about some old stories of no shit, there I was, and
Like
see if people got any ideas of that.
Well, maybe it sounds like you're the one to start us, bro.
Man, there's plenty of good ones for sure.
Pick one.
So no shit, there I was. We were in. Actually, we were in Copenhagen at one point. Actually, Chris, I believe this is when you and I probably met.
Yeah.
One of the first times when we were in Copenhagen. We were hanging out at this little park, and everyone's starting to kind of file into town. And as everyone's filing into town, like this is one of my first, probably my first or second trips to Europe. All of a sudden, as we're sitting at this park, we're sitting by this little river, and all these skydivers appear out of nowhere in the middle of the city and just kind of start like funneling together in this one little hangout spot. And it was such a cool surprise because I had no idea and no clue that all these people were going to show up. And poof, here you are with a dozen of your friends just showing up out of nowhere unexpectedly in the middle of the city by this park. Yeah, kind of a lame story at the moment, but we'll get there. We'll get a better one. We'll feel it out.
Do it. Do you remember were you with us when we were in Copenhagen and we were riding around? There was all of us. We were going to check out the demo, and we were all riding. And if anyone's seen South Park, that episode where the guys are on the motorbikes and they all make that, and we're all like, there was about 15 of us just riding around the center of Copenhagen making that noise. I don't think the local people were very impressed, but we thought it was hilarious.
It was, well, I mean, the sound effects added 20 extra horsepower with those e-bikes. Those e-bikes just cruising through the city. Sound effects. Now it was the E-Plus bikes.
Yeah. I remember, Max, this is another Copenhagen one. So I guess we talked about it last time, but Swoop Challenge or Swoop Freestyle is very much just a high performance demo, and you get asked to jump in some pretty gnarly wind conditions. Max, I think you tell this better. When they gave us the weather call.
Oh man, so Denmark, it's like, I don't know, the whole time we were there, I think it was like 25 gusting 30 from the morning until basically never stopped. And then I think a couple of us like had thought that maybe they will cancel it or delay it or whatever, but we got a meeting, and then everyone sat down, and then he's like, so today's schedule, blah blah blah, you know, the weather is like, it's 25 gusting 27, there's 7/8 of cloud, and we're a go. And everyone just looked around and was like, what? I guess, yeah, sure. Perfect, let's do it.
And obviously,
it was awesome, though.
Yeah. With all our 1,000 jumps of experience, we just all kept our mouths shut, nodded, and hopped in the helicopters.
Yeah, just everyone praying not to hit that bridge that was right behind the raft.
Yeah, there was literally waves in that little lake in the center of town. Like, you couldn't keep your foot on the water because we had waves from the wind being so strong. And everyone knows when you're around a bunch of buildings and there's really strong winds that there's going to be no turbulence. So it's really nice conditions to jump in.
Superb.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. This swoop freestyle swoop challenge. I don't know what it's called now, but that thing. But yeah, I don't know. It was not so pleasant, the whole experience. I think like cold, wet, stressful.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It was amazing. You got to take it forward. It's a high performance demo, really. So
yeah,
you kind of got to be willing to push your limits a little bit. Leonard, give us a story, buddy.
Story. I'm trying to think of something good. I don't know if I wasn't sure if I told this one last time. There was back in the day, it's like a Wednesday, by the way. It was jumping and decided to demo a canopy. So I ended up demoing, I think it was like a katana or something like that. I don't know, like 500 jumps, but I didn't understand like they had the Collins lanyard, like the separation, the hard housing in the back, like the rig.
Yeah.
And so like when I fed the cutaway cable back in after like putting the new 3-ring on, like a lot of the cable went into like the reserve tray instead of like going back through the hard housing in the back. So when I hooked up the 3-ring on one side, I it went into like just barely into the hard housing on the riser, right? That was supposed to like going all the way up into the riser, and I was like, oh, okay, well it goes into the housing at least, and made a good old jump, and loosened up your chest strap, things like that, so the yoke stretched a little bit, and that cutaway cable came like all the way down to the tip of like the loop on the riser. So yeah, exactly. So I landed, and the moment I landed, I unloaded the wing, and that riser flew off.
Whoa.
Like the moment I landed. That was a good yeah. I didn't say I was smart back in the day.
Yeah.
So I ended up learning something new that day. Good experience.
What did you learn, actually?
What did you learn? Yeah, what's the lesson?
I haven't figured that one out yet. I'm still learning. No, having a rigger check things, understanding your gear, man, that was terrifying. Because like it is in the moment, you're like, oh wow, that's strange. I'm still alive though. Like, and nothing was terrifying about it. And then later that night, you kind of like, wow, if I hit any like thermals or turbulence or something like that, and I just like unloaded that shoulder, man, I would have streamered that thing in it from 800 feet.
It's pretty scary.
Exciting.
Yeah. Spicy.
I was in Voss, and I was just jumping an 84 velocity actually, and I landed, and I just felt this big tug when I was finishing my turn.
Oh,
yeah, and then I touched down on the ground, and then my baby blue reserve fell over my shoulder, and I had a cypress fire, and it took a couple of days for me to register that, like, if that had happened like a second earlier, it would have shot into my main. It's pretty terrifying. And then because the unit gets sent away to Cyprus, and then Cyprus, they sent me a report back and basically said, like, you were this close to firing it pretty much for the last 100 jumps. So that was just an expert, not a speed Cyprus.
I've done the same thing. Yeah.
Look at all this experience.
I've never had a Cypress fire.
It was a wingsuit Cypress though, and it was the first day with the wingsuit Cypress. I didn't really, you have like the audible that tells you when the motor's changed and all of that. So I had 2 rigs. One had the wingsuit Cypress in it, the other one didn't, and then also 2 helmets, and I didn't change the audible over and went for a free flight jump with my wingsuit rig, and instead of like, just going easy, with the velo also. And I pulled low. That was the first good move. And then I thought I'll get out of the way of everyone. So I released the brakes right away and just like spiraled down. And before my last 180 or 90 or something, I thought my slider had like decollapsed and come back up. It just felt like and then I look up and I saw my reserve, and then about 3 or 4 seconds later, I was on the ground.
Yeah.
Don't have a video of it because all the awesome things, my camera never works.
Yeah, for sure. We start calling you Rafa, I think, can't we? Didn't he do that?
Kind of. He had I guess. Yeah.
He had the video though. His was a bit more spectacular.
Yeah, but he didn't fly very well, huh? Yeah. kind of, well, it's crazy. I think it made me rethink the whole reserve sizing and main sizing issue, because with the velo, I remember the velo's lines were kind of had the same length as my reserve. So they were basically the reserve, the main was stalling the reserve, and I didn't have time to do anything like to undo the brakes. So I was kind of flying the velo on like basically the stall point in order for it not to like accelerate too far in front of the reserve. It's very difficult, man. And I was pretty glad that was like the 6th jump that day or 8th jump, because I was, kind of ready for it, or I don't know, like I could deal with it, but it's super scary. And I know a lot of people that lost their lives or hurt themselves really, really bad doing that. Huh?
Yeah, for sure.
I can feel that. Yeah.
So, what's your conclusion on that now? If you're rethinking?
Well, I think you should talk to your rigger if you can't do that yourself, but talk to your rigger and think about the length of the lines of your reserve and the main. So it's not really how they fit in the container so much. Well, obviously it is to make it free fly friendly, but it's very important that the reserve, it will most likely come out second. So it'll be behind the main, and it should be below the canopy of the main canopy, right? And then choose a size that at a certain loading, like you just thinking about that compatibility. I know a lot of riggers do that, and that's the reason why a lot of, you buy a Sabre 2 170 and they put a 150 reserve in. Or Sapphire or whatever, to actually make that, to accommodate for that, for a 2-out scenario. But with the smaller wings, it all changes a little bit. With velos and layers and all of that, the line length is very different, and a lot of times the reserve size is kind of maybe not perfectly compatible with that. And you have to remember that if you have like a hard hit, you get knocked out and you have a 2-out scenario, it should still kind of fly together, Just something to think about.
So much to think about in the first place. Maybe just open higher and make sure you've got the right gear in.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Also,
yeah, it is an option, but it was a good lesson to learn for me for sure, all of it. But just keeping things simple makes, like, using one rig, for example, or using 2 rigs that are exactly the same makes things so much easier. And then you mix it up just a little bit. Like, it wasn't a crazy mix up, it's just another rig. And I took the wingsuit canopy off and put the other one on, but still, I don't know, just following, you have an audible that tells you when the mode changes to canopy. But if you're not used to it for a couple of thousand jumps, you're not used to waiting for that alarm, you don't wait for it. You know what I mean? Even if that's your 20th jump or whatever. So I think it's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do I get that?
Are we watching Kevin this? He's been changing it the whole time.
I just asked him. I've been talking to him and asking him how he's doing it. I guess there's a button at the bottom. I couldn't figure out how to do it on mine though.
How do you do that?
What is
So
that? Is that you eating shit in South Africa?
No, that was that's out in SoCal. That was circa 2016 timeframe.
Oh, that went to the chow, and that I shared that to the stories. It was mud pie time.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it, people.
Yep. That was my very, very first swoop on a body of water.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
How'd it go?
Yeah.
Well, that's how it went.
Into a body of water.
Into a body, not over it, just right into
I landed on dry land. Thank you.
That counts as drag, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you would have got the points, bro.
Did you hurt yourself?
I think I had a slight fracture in my wrist, and then I think the whole thing, my pride was the most scarred.
It's a good start. My first
Yeah.
ever competition jump ever was a yellow card.
What happened?
Yeah. I never practiced speed before, and because I just looked at the course and I thought it can't be that hard. Like you just fly into the course and then just turn a little bit, and that's what I did. But then I remember as I entered the entry gate, I couldn't, like I didn't really know where to go anymore. It was all like looked very confusing. So I banked really hard, a little bit too hard, and almost took out like 3 judges and hurt myself a little bit as well. And that was my first ever speed run, and it was a yellow card. It's pretty good.
What did you learn from that, Matt?
I don't know. Try again.
Train.
Yeah.
Training always helps. Oh, this is funny actually. Just before I was trying to, I think one of the Aerosports ones we just put up, the cutaway one. I was trying to find old cutaways, and I came across footage from Voss, and man, I was a fucking idiot. I found a shot of me ripping my canopy on a picnic table. I found a shot of me ripping a tree out in the middle of the town, like a new tree had just been planted, and we were doing this demo. And I remember that one. Like the canopy was still flying, but you know when you put your feet on the ground sometimes, like amateur, and you're like, I've got to start running now. And I tried running away from the tree, and then obviously I had target fixation while the canopy was still flying, and I was still running across the ground, and I just steered into the tree and ripped the tree out of the ground. It was glorious. I felt like a real
when the trees jump out in front of you, you got to show them who's boss and demonstrate dominance.
Well, I won that one.
Nice.
I did that with camera during Zonac in South Africa and got a yellow card. Knocked the camera tripod over. I didn't let it get
Not
my
even
way.
a judge.
I almost hit a judge too.
Oh, we were in my first World Cup. We were in. This is kind of. She was fine, by the way. Before I finish the story, we'll get into it. We were in Russia in 2013, and I was there hanging out. I was the only Kiwi. I was hanging out with the Aussies. It was the World Cup, and it was a speed run as well. And one of the Aussies, Jimmy, he took out one of the judges, like he was carving, and he fully just took her out. And we found out afterwards she was pregnant as well.
That's a twofer.
Yeah, it was a twofer. He was racking up the points, but she was fine, and the baby was fine to the best of our knowledge. But he fully took her out. Yeah, we never let him live that down for the rest of the comp, and he was buying all the beers. It was bloody good.
I mean,
Worked out for us.
I will say that if people around the world, you should turn on your camera. I mean, this is the whole point. It's like a virtual party. Grab a beer, sit down. A
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah.
Like,
And
come on, enjoy. I mean, we were all watching Kevin's videos here. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can change it
Maybe
between
see him.
speaker
Hey.
view and
And there's a couple
gallery
of
view.
put it on the grid view. That's the best because then you can see everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I did.
yeah. Honestly, it's really hard to not
questions
stop
from the
watching
public.
Kevin's video.
I know, right? Well, there's 2 questions from the. What did I just?
Okay, we'll change that.
Jesus, what just happened?
Holy
Someone
crap!
Somebody
screen
took over.
share.
Oh, okay.
Not anymore. That was exciting. Imagine that would have been really funny if it was something. I don't know.
Yeah. Seeing as we're speaking about cutaways, how many cutaways you guys had?
I don't know. 5
5.
personally.
How many jumps?
4,000.
That's about average, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
The first one like 500, and then I think the first one, my first cutaway was on a Crossfire 2109, and then the remaining 4 were
Velos.
on Peregrines.
No, it's funny that yours was on an Icarus canopy. My first one was on a Katana 120. That was
Mine was on a Vengeance 120.
Yours was?
Yeah, on a Vengeance.
Oh.
You ever jump one of them?
Yeah, thanks, Brian Germain.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Baker? What was your first one?
I think my first cutaway was on a prototype Velo, which that's actually a really weird story. That was probably my first cutaway. Total cutaways are probably unintentional cutaways, maybe 7, 8. I think 8, and then intentional cutaways, a lot.
I'm pretty sure when I cut away, it's an intentional decision.
Not necessarily, unless someone knocks your handle out on exit. When
Well, that's-
Steve Braff hands your cutaway handle back to you in free fall, and you feed the cables back in.
Right, we've got 10 minutes left, guys. Yeah, that was not a decision at all.
No, it definitely wasn't. But as you're tracking away, you can feel that your 3 rings are still attached. Hold the pillow in place and pull, and then you know it's not going to drop on. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I had 2 velos explode on me, actually. I broke 6 lines in the space of 2 jumps.
Holy wow.
Yeah, not ideal. I sent it back to PD, and then so it happened once, got a new line set, didn't think about it, and then it happened. My first year in Voss was not great. When I look back, I was ripping canopies, destroying shit, and that canopy exploded. I sent it back, and PD just said, "We can't find a problem, but we'll give you a new one." So,
That's awesome.
being in the industry, that means we found a problem. We don't want to tell you what it is.
Yeah. Oh man. I actually last year was the first year I've ever had tension knots. Last year I had 2 different scenarios of tension knots, and one of them was on a pretty old parachute, but same scenario there where I told the manufacturer that we had tension knots, and New Zealand's like, "Yep, just go ahead and give us that line set back or hack it up. We're going to send you a new one."
Yeah. I was going to say, was it Leia? Was it Leia?
It was the Leia.
Was it Leia?
It was my Leia. Yeah. But that Leia is pretty tired. I mean, it still flies great. It still runs strong, but it's been tested through its durability phase quite thoroughly.
We once had I had once an AFF student, and I didn't do the ground school, and he wasn't, like not the smartest guy, I would say, but anyways, when he got his A license, or the equivalent to the A license, he kind of came over, and he's like, "So I thought you guys will pack me a Mal in one of my jumps until I get my A license." So he's jumping every jump expecting a Mal and having to cut away. It's just terrified, and made a lot of sense afterwards to me. That's why he wasn't performing as well as he could have been. But yeah, so he was his first 20 jumps, he was worried we would pack him something that he has to cut away.
What about anyone else? Anyone else want to tell their cutaway story?
That'd be a good one out there, I'm sure.
So I had my second chop that I ever had was on a Petra, and we were doing XRW. And I talked to a lot of my students about this one because it ended up, and I can pull the video up maybe here in a little bit if we have time, but I ended up having almost a 2-out scenario. I had a out of sequence deployment where on my back I had about 20 pounds of lead on, and she fucking took me, and there was no fighting it. And as I reached down to grab my cutaway handle, I peeled and punched, and my actual handle slipped out, and I didn't get a complete cutaway. And that muscle memory went peel, punch, and I put my reserve out while I still had the Petra attached to me. And thankfully, I was able to get it cleared, and then had about 6 line twists with my reserve that I ended up having to fight for about 2,000 feet. So that's one of my fun cutaway stories. Let's see if I can find it.
They're all fun. I think they're all fun.
The second time I cut away from the first time, sorry, I cut away from the velo when it exploded. Just 3 lines broke, but it was flying straight because it was all insides. So I just got to do felt really cool actually. There's no spins, no twists. I just flew straight back over the drop zone and just cut away, dropping straight from under it. So it was after the chaos, it was pretty chill, to be honest. Yeah. Cut away a tandem before.
Ooh.
Tension knots. Yeah, but that's just a slow moving right turn that fast enough that I couldn't fix it. So yeah, cut that away. Tom Baker is there twice again.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good
it'll
job,
go
I
away.
think.
I promise. I fixed it.
He's given us a wide view and a close view.
I just want to
Oh,
have.
that's right.
Yeah.
I see him now again. There's another Tom in here too. Does anyone have any good beer recommendations now that we're just like
To
sitting in
drink.
and doing nothing else? I mean, you could always go with the standard.
Is everyone drinking way more than they normally do? I find that beer tastes a lot better right now than it normally does.
Chocolate too.
Yeah. Chocolate.
Chocolate. Oh.
Red wine, chocolate. Yeah.
Not getting out of bed till like 10 o'clock because there's no reason to.
Yeah.
Not doing
10
that.
o'clock is early.
Is it? Yeah. Some of us are athletes, Max.
I've actually been getting up with the sun. Like I've been getting up with the sun and then just working and stuff. Except for like 50% of the time when I'm not getting up early. But
Ooh, yes. That's
this
a
a
good
malfunction?
video.
If everyone's looking at Kevin's little screen.
I know everyone's looking at Kevin now.
oh,
Mm.
Well, good news. You got plenty of time.
I learned a lot from this one, to be honest, especially as far as what my EPs are. And I talked to a lot of people about how they visualize and think about their EPs, because this nearly could have been really bad for me.
Yeah, I think like visualizing your EP. When I had that those tension knots in South Africa last year, and I don't know, you just think like I haven't had a cutaway for years, and then everything just comes back to you as normal. I think like that whole. I always think about it just before I get out of the plane, or I touch my handles in order, and that seems to be enough just to keep the muscle memory going.
But the thing that nearly screwed me over on that is I had practiced that muscle memory. I knew exactly where my handles were, but that functioning ended up as I pulled my cutaway, the handle actually pulled out of my hand. So I didn't actually get a full stroke of the cutaway. The cables moved a little bit, but that muscle memory that you see everybody do in the plane, they do this number all day.
Yeah,
And
for
that muscle
sure.
memory had just been ingrained in thousands of jumps, and that's what happened to me. And so I talk about people like, hey, when you visualize, think about what you're doing. Cut it. When I get a full stroke of that cutaway handle, do I have actual separation of the malfunctioning main from my rig? And then look, grab, pull.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some of these comments. There's a couple of people up to Cameron, up to 400 jumps, never had a cutaway. On 414, a cutaway.
wow.
And then there's someone put at the bottom, who is this? Oh, Fleming, 302 jumps and 0 cutaways. Don't worry, bro, there's still time.
They're coming.
They're coming. Although, does anyone know someone? I worked with a guy who got up to 5,000 jumps, never had a cutaway, and then now he's a pilot, so stopped jumping. Does anyone else have those
Oh, I
stories?
think
Justin
I think-
Blewett from the Golden Knights has something stupid like 18 or 23,000 jumps. He's one of their primary test jumpers and master riggers, and 0 cutaways. And he flew Katana a lot.
Oh, wow. What
Yep.
about a velo? If he jumped a velo, surely he would have had one.
I think my first cutaway was somewhere around 4,700 jumps, though. So I mean, it's possible
wow.
to go. Yeah,
Yeah, mine wasn't until like 1,500 jumps, I think.
yeah.
at least half of mine were totally unnecessary. So
I don't know why I love that. It's amazing.
It's just
Right,
like-
we've got just
Oh, yeah.
under. We've got a minute to go. Pretty much, guys. You're all unmuted, except the people.
yeah,
Yay!
everyone.
I hope quarantine's going good for everyone. There'll be more
Pretty good.
informative webinars.
Who's got the greatest no shit there I was in quarantine and most ridiculous quarantine story?
Well, you've got less than a minute, so you'll probably cut out. No one? Okay. Radio, thanks for joining. For us just talking a bit of shit, finding out what, how to get your hair shining like Tom Baker's.
I learned something today.
Yeah,
There you go.
Tim's taking
I learned
notes,
something
so-
about fasting and hair.
Yeah. And we will see you guys maybe for the next one. I'm not sure what it is, but just check the Woogie page.
Yes.
There you go.
See you later.
See ya.
Stay healthy, everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Cheers.